Six Nations 2026 game number 2, folks, and it's the Italians who have managed to get a pretty impressive win in torrential rain in Rome. 18 points to 15. The line out for the Scots, oh my goodness, it was atrocious stuff. The Italian scrum was magnificent. They scored a couple of early tries, punishing Scottish mistakes, and managed to hang on through 20, 30 phases of Scottish attempted comeback at the death. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. But one stat I will let you know early, 68%. The Scottish line-out was 68%. The Italians in the same conditions, which were awful, 94. I feel like if there's one key difference maker in the game, it is that one. But there's lots of things at play in this game. It was a 3-something in the morning kickoff for me here in New Zealand, so I'm pretty glad I got up to watch it live, because you want to see this kind of game live. You know, you don't want to be spoiled to the result, so I might regret it later in the day, but I did roll out of bed. I'm still a bit bleary-eyed, so forgive me if I fumble my words at what is now 5-something in the morning, but yeah, it was a cracking game to watch. Tentative early on, kicking both ways, but the Italians punished Scottish mistakes. They had the better of the early aerial contest, the Italians, and then winning a penalty from an aerial contest meant a chance to attack, and they didn't. They didn't fluff their lines, the Italians. They won the line-out, which is a good start. Fusco short side to that man Brex, who puts a grubber through for Liner. 5-0 early for the Italians. The Scots did have a chance to immediately push back, winning a scrum penalty, which was something hard for them in this game because their scrum was largely under the pump, but losing their line out, which would become a pretty regular theme for the Scottish lads. And then 13 minutes, another Scottish penalty conceded, this time at the breakdown on attack. And the Italians from the middle of the field are still able to punish. They put up a high ball, Liner contests it well, wins it, and then they get the ball wide. It's again the short side to Menoncello. It's 12 points to 0. 2 early Italian tries, and it is looking pretty ominous for the Scots. Although, to the Scots' credit, they did manage to get their own try in reply, because the first 25 minutes saw the first 3 tries out of 4 in this game, and the Scots were pretty determined not to take a 3, which they got their reward for, and I was pretty impressed by it, because on another day you could have just said, well, just take the 3 right under the sticks, but they didn't want that. They went tap, go, and there was infringements, there was offsides, there was line-out infringements from the Italians. Eventually, Dempsey from a tap a couple of phases later, the first step misses the initial Italian tackle attempt, close range try, and it's 12 points to 7, which is properly back to game on. But then the heavens really opened, and the rain just got torrentially bad. Like, the conditions were just so hard for the players to get any go forward. The ball was holding up in the water on the pitch. The guys were struggling for purchase. It was slippery as a bar of soap. It was a lot of rain. It was a lot of rain. The Scots conceded a couple of penalties, obstruction, line-out defence, and eventually Garbisi opted for a droppy, which he missed, but he had advantage, so back for the penalty. 15 points to 7 at half-time, and maybe lucky for the Scots at 15-7, because the Italians had another line break and drop goal shot before the half-time whistle, but they didn't manage to get nothing from it. So yeah, 15-7 at half-time. The Scots have had the possession in the territory, but 3 line breaks to zip, and the Scottish line-out's at 71%, which is pretty awful. The Scottish line-out goes awry again in the second half. The Italians get another line break. They get a penalty conceded. Again, the Italians, which the Scots have another chance. Line-out goes awry. It's mind-boggling how bad the line-out was. Eventually, on 45 minutes, the Scots opted for a penalty when they got a chance, and it's like, what else can you do? It's too far to tap it, and your line-out just is not getting one. So the hand was kind of forced, I feel like, in that one to make it 15 points to 10, although the Scots conceded one back. The Italians slotted one to make it 18-10. Not too long later, after a TMO call, which is not the worst TMO call in terms of like the most egregious shot. It was Ashman. Geez, the Scottish hookers had a rough day in terms of the line-out throws, and then the penalties and whatnot. It was a high shot on Zuliani. Like I said, it's one that I would rather the TMO just say to the ref, hey, there's a high tackle, it's a penalty against Scotland, instead of stopping the game, watching through all the frames, because it didn't seem that bad, but it was definitely a penalty, which the Italians slotted. So 18-10, that's the final scoring for the Italians. What can the Scots do? Well, they put their restart out in the full, and they conceded a scrum penalty, so it was a bit of a kind of, you could just see Gregor Townsend in the coach's box just kind of fading away. Like, he just seemed resigned to the fact that it wasn't going to be their day. Then Turner got a yellow card for a clean out on Zuliani. Zuliani was copping some damage this one. Another hooker in trouble for the Scots, and he's maybe lucky that one only gets yellowed. That on another day potentially could have been red. You got to be so careful, and he's not. So it goes to the bunker, and the bunker comes back with a yellow card only decision for that one. So yeah, they said low danger. Zuliani went off for an HIA. He was gone from the field for quite some time. He did pass it, but yeah, I'm not sure low danger. But anyway, Matt Fagerson, who steps in at hooker for the line-out throw, he goes 1 from 1 from his line-out throw. So that's a little bit of good news, if nothing else, for the Scottish guys. But the Italians can't score any points during the yellow card period, so the Scots will be relatively happy that they held on for that. And they had to come back, and they did get some nice, like, zip and energy from their subs. And George Horn in particular was absolutely trying to rev the boys up when he came on. That was at least one bit of good news, and they did manage to get a try, and it was through him. It was the Italians conceding a penalty, the Scottish guys actually winning a line-out for a change, which was good, and they basically had a 14-man maul. Almost the entire Scottish team got in there. They had George Horn peel off, and he scored over in the corner. They missed the conversion, but that made it 18 points to 15. And to be fair, that was kind of led up to by the Italians not being able to secure a couple of high balls. So the Italians had been good at that for about 60 minutes, but it let them down towards the end of the game. But 18 points to 15. What can the final period of the game give to us? Well, the Italians went for the corner when they had a penalty instead of opting for a kick, which Gazabisi probably could have slotted. Maybe they were trying to deny Scotland a losing bonus point. I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to get down the right end of the field, because it would have only made it a 6-point lead, which is not a sure thing. But they couldn't score from it, and the Scots on 79 minutes needed to go 80. And with the ball as slippery as it was, and the line-out as bad as it was, I didn't see them getting even close to it. But they did better than expected. They got a penalty, line-out, which they won. They mauled it, got another penalty. The second line-out throw was very, very not straight, but nobody contested from the Italian side, which seems nuts. So play on, and yeah, they went through like 26 phases, got into the 22 of the Italians, which is much further than expected, but eventually, I think it was Williamson, held up in the tackle. Game over, Italian win, losing bonus points for the Scots, but that's, in the scheme of their Six Nations campaign, not likely going to be enough. But famous win for the Italians, and pretty deserved, man. Line out 94%. That's the winner of the game right there. 68% from the Scots. Clean breaks, also 5-zip to the Italians. A lot of kicking, which makes sense given the conditions. A fair few knock-ons, which again makes sense given the conditions. Penalty count was 14-12 against the Italians, but the few of the penalties from the Scots, like Xander conceded a couple, Schoolman one, Miller Mills at least one, I think, scrum time. So yeah, the Italian scrum was doing good. Xander made 11 from 12 tackles in his shift, so good defensive shift. But I mean, some of the Italian guys, like Nicola Corona, made 25 out of 26. Menoncello had 112 run meters, which is cracking. 2 clean breaks and 4 defenders beaten, plus a try. That guy's a proper machine. Dempsey, 54, 53 meters and 4 defenders beaten on the carry was good for the Scots, but it's not good enough for them. So well done, Italy. You guys take on the Irish away next, which will be interesting, and Scotland will be home to England. I'm off to watch England play Wales now. You guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.